All right, I'm just going to be really straight with this. I'm about to save you tens of thousands of dollars in this video by telling you some Active Directory basics that would probably have shown up on your third-party consulting company's penetration test. Here's the scenario. I see companies of all different sizes spend a stupid amount of money on SOC, SIM, EDR, managed security services, and yet, I am still getting full control of these internal Active Directory environments within hours using the same information that has been publicly known for decades. Everybody has an opinion about how your internal environment should be configured. I am not here to debate you about how you should configure yours. I'm here to state as plainly, cleanly, and hopefully rapidly configuration choices that lead me to hack your network as a penetration tester. I will be giving you 3 things for every item on my list in this video: the what, the why, and the how. What it is, why it's important, and how you're going to fix it. I'm going to rapid fire through a lot of these items, so I won't be getting into the nitty-gritty. And also, I'm going to hit you with an obligatory, I am speaking in generalizations. Everybody's responsible for not destroying their own networks. If you break something, I'm not responsible. Yada, yada, yada. I will be referring to all of these items as hardening items, so ADH1, ADH2, etc., etc. So with that in mind, on to number 1. H1, legacy protocols. What are they? LLMNR, NBTNS, and MDNS. Why is this important? On by default, legacy network protocols allow attackers to obtain hashed credentials and potentially crack them, or intercept those hashed credentials and send them to another system gaining access to it. This is probably the number 1 way attackers get a foothold on internal Active Directory environments. How are you going to fix it? I recommend creating a GPO and applying this to all your devices. For LLMNR, computer configuration, policies, administrative templates, network, DNS client, turn off multicast name resolution, enable. For NBTNS, create this registry key. For MDNS, create this registry key. Although, be careful in macOS environments, this also might break some printers. H2, machine account quota. What is this? The machine account quota allows any Active Directory user to add up to 10 machine accounts by default. Why is this important? Basically, being able to add computer accounts can be leveraged by attackers to perform a bunch of fancy schmancy attacks. I won't be talking about them, but simply ask yourself the following question. Should normal users be able to add computer accounts to the domain? And the answer should be no, only system administrators can. How are you going to fix this? First, query and find out what your MAQ is, your MAC. Second, run this command that sets it to 0. And then third, audit it afterwards. H3, SMB Signing Not Required. What is it? Basically, something that's not required until recently on certain builds of Windows 11, not required by default. Why is it important? When SMB signing is not required, among many other reasons, an attacker does not always need to obtain a password in order to gain access to a machine. They simply take a legitimate authentication that happens on the network and passes it or relays it to a target machine. How that authentication happens can be from legacy name protocols, coercion attacks, or some other things. Just trust me. How are you going to fix it? Create a GPO, navigate to computer config, policies, Windows settings, local policies, security options, Microsoft Network Client. Always digitally sign communications. Set that to true for both the client and the server. H4, LDAP signing and binding. What is it? By default, LDAP signing and binding are not required. Why is it important? This is just like SMB signing, but for domain controllers, one of the most critical on-premise assets you probably have. Very similarly, an attacker can send or relay a legitimate authentication without knowing the plain text password and be capable of querying the domain controller or possibly modifying user or computer accounts. How do you fix this? Create a group policy affecting the domain controller. You're to go to computers, policies, Windows settings, local policies, security options, domain controller, LDAP server channel, and signing requirements. Set both of these to required and enabled. H5, IPv6, man-in-the-middle 6. What is it? By default, Windows prefers IPv6 and is enabled and allowed on all Windows networks by default. Why is it important? Because it's preferred by Windows, this allows an attacker to intercept and manipulate local network traffic that could facilitate capturing hashes, enabling relay attacks to SMB, LDAP, or other services, or otherwise causing some sort of denial service. How do you fix it? This should be fixed at the network level with some sort of router advertisement guard, but a lot of vendors paywall this feature, so you may not be able to enable it there. If not, Microsoft officially does not recommend disabling IPv6 because it supposedly breaks certain things. So I recommend blocking it at the firewall level with these GPO rules. H6, pre-Windows 2000 group. What is it? As it suggests, this is a group that has authenticated users in the pre-Windows 2000 accessibility group. Why is it important? Well, by default, this allows all Active Directory users to be able to read all Active Directory objects, with some exceptions like LAPs. How you're going to fix this? Well, in theory, you should be able to remove authenticated users from this group, but exercise some caution. This one's kind of like the scariest one on the list for me personally. This should probably be deprioritized compared to some of the other findings, because it's also low impact in the grand scheme of things, but we're putting it in the list anyways. H7 is Keberoasting. What is it? It's Keberoasting and ASREPRoasting. That's what I'm going to call it. Why is it important? Basically, something called a service principal name, or an SPN, is assigned to an account, usually a service account, and these SPNs can be used to retrieve a hash for that account, which an attacker can then try to crack offline, gaining access to said account. SPNs are required for some applications to work. How do you fix it? Well, first, if an account does not need an SPN, just remove it. If it does need an SPN, make the password ridiculously strong. Microsoft recommends 25 characters, but I say heck it. Nobody's signing into this account, or at least nobody should be signing into this account. Mash your keyboard and make it 100 characters for all I care. I just don't care. Just make it something not short, particularly because these accounts are usually privileged. If you don't want to do it that way, you can always use Group Managed Service Accounts, or GMSAs. They automatically assign random 128 character passwords to these accounts, so Keberoasting is essentially no longer a threat. H8 is Unconstrained Delegation, and by default, well, it's not configured by default. A system administrator had to configure this. Why is this important? Basically, an account that has Unconstrained Delegation can impersonate any other account. So if Workstation 01 has Unconstrained Delegation, it can turn to the domain controller and say, hey, I'm actually the domain admin. And the domain controller says, wow, you're so right. Here, have everything. Not great. How do you fix this? A little trickier, but first of all, find out if delegation is even required. If it is not, just remove it. If it is, consider moving to resource-based constrained delegation, which restricts what user can be impersonated and what service that impersonated user can access. H9 is the password policy. Look, I don't even explain what it is. It's a password policy. I'm not going to argue whether you need 12 characters or 15 characters, but please, longer the better. We all know this. Just set it to 15, and if you're not going to do that, just set it to 12. Just stop. I don't want to see 8 characters anymore. All right, for big boy number 10, we have Active Directory Certificate Services. What is it? Nobody knows. Why is this important? Well, basically, this is the motherload of misconfigurations, and depending on when you installed this Active Directory role, it came out of the box with some horrific low privilege to domain admin escalation paths. Huge shout out to the guys at SpectreOps and then the community as a whole for building escalations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't know, it's like 20 or something now. I can't even keep track of it. But these are very, very, very critical and very, very, very important to address. One of the most high impact items on this list. So how do you actually go about fixing this? Well, it's actually very complex and scary. You should audit it with something like Certify or Locksmith in order to determine whether a template is vulnerable, what's it vulnerable to, and then depending on what it is vulnerable to, there are very specific mitigations. But ultimately, the easiest way to mitigate any of the Active Directory certificate services is determining, do we need this certificate? If no, disable it. Do we need the service as a whole? If no, remove it. Congratulations, you've been remediated. Well, I promised it would be quick, and I certainly tried my best. That was a short list of items that I have seen again and again at 30-person companies and 10,000-person companies. Hopefully I saved you $10,000, or maybe your next pen test report is just a bit more meaningful, as these low-hanging fruits are no longer present. While I demonstrated a manual way to check for all these items, I am releasing a companion tool with this video called AD Hardening, or rather Invoke-ADHardening. It is available on GitHub for free and pictured pictured repository here, link in description. It is meant to be ran from a domain controller as a domain admin, and it will first perform an audit of everything that was in this video. It will output to HTML, CSV, JSON, and the terminal. It also prints out the results of that audit, but it's kind of disgusting, so you just look at the HTML. All right, so now I'm going to hit you with a quick obligatory demo of the tool. If you don't want to see the tool, you can just click off now. Thank you for looking. I hope I saved you some money. Invoke-ADHardening. So first we're going to go ahead and import it, and then we're going to actually call it with Invoke-Hardening. You can either call it just by the commandlet or with mode audit. So basically I give a nice little banner here giving credit to the smart people that discovered all this information. I'm just presenting it to you. And it's going to go ahead and run through it. There's going to be a bunch of red output for items that are not complete. Then we're going to head on over to the reports folder, and I'm going to go ahead and open up report.html, where we have a list of items that we have failed, as well as some automated fixes and or the evidence for the reason that something got failed, and as well as passing or warning because it can't auto-implement some things. So now I'm going to run it in implement mode. And it's going to say, hey, I'm going to change all these settings. I'm going to create these new GPO objects. I'm going to do all these things. And you have the option to step through one by one in order to address those items, or you can bulk apply them and have all of them apply. We're going to go one by one in this demonstration. And then it says, okay. And then we have some before statuses and after statuses of things that worked, things that didn't. Not everything can be auto remediated, and the tool calls those items out. So then if we rerun the audit phase here, we will see, after it goes, we see a lot more green. So that's all. First of all, that's nice. Green is good. And then if we open up the most recent report, report.html, you'll see that we have passed on all items except the ones that require manual intervention. Now, how are these fixes applied? These fixes are applied basically by creating their own GPOs where possible. It doesn't touch your existing GPO. So if you need to disable or audit something, or you need to check out what was modified, you can do that without touching any of your existing items. Again, the tool is in audit mode only. You can obviously, all the source code is available to you. I'm not trying to do something super sneaky. I just want you to defend your networks better. And while I would like your money, I really would like your money. You don't have, it's just, the information's free. It was always free. It was always out there. I haven't discovered this information. Instead, I'm presenting it to you in a condensed format. As far as the project itself, I would love for more pull requests into the project to allow for additional checks. The core principles for this project are that these changes should be the least disruptive as possible and require the least amount of outside tooling and offer the maximum security coverage, and then obviously all for free. We love free things. And then separately, again, I just wanted to make it explicitly clear, once again, that none of this is my research. This is just generally well understood information from the offensive security community, and I wanted to give a special shout out to a few of them. Ping Castle, Purple Knight, Locksmith, Certify, SpectreOps, NetExec, Impacket, Bloodhound, and of course, for all the fans back home, the broader cybersecurity community.